I was fortunate enough to be able to buy a property here in San Diego, which was a lot of work. But it was mostly invasive species in the backyard. My wife and I started to do some vegetable gardening, taking out a lot of the things that only a handful of critters were using. As a biologist, I went in and started to categorize and catalog all the species that were on the property and came up with a few dozen. When we put in our vegetables, that expanded a little bit, but it was the native plants. We're talking about hundreds of different butterflies and little hoverflies, bumblebees, there's hundreds of different varieties in San Diego, and all of a sudden all that life was just in my backyard. It was really enlightening and incredible to have a fairly dead space become thriving for my family and all the animals. CNPS, California Native Plant Society, speaks for the voiceless. Plants don't speak for themselves. So we stand up and say, this is a home, and we need to recognize that, respect that. California Native Plant Society tries to appeal to people that just want to go out and experience the trails. We want to make sure that people have access to outdoors in a safe and inclusive way. And so that's through field trips, and that's through talks. We have general meetings and things like that. We have restoration events where people are actually putting the plants into the ground. Tecolote is a special place, and that's only because of the fight that people that have come before us put into interacting with the city. Eloise Battle, for which the Learning Center is named after, and one of the trails here is an example of someone who is always willing to walk up the aisle at the city council meetings in the 60s and 70s when the environment was just in the way or something to be exploited, and she stood up ready for battle and saved this canyon.
That's why we work so hard, for the future children.
Yeah, for the kids, yeah.
Instead of having nature all gone.
Special place.
I tend to think so.
We would have lost rare resources, including some species that are going to extinct, and because of Eloise, there's another population still alive. She's not alone. There's a lot of people that are fighting that fight still. For us to carry on that is an honor. Bringing back habitats, bringing back native plants, bringing back access to areas that are wild and rewilding areas helps to repair some of the damage that has been taken up by overly zealous development and industrialization. If we don't start now, then it's never going to happen. Every harvest season or so, which can be mostly from the summer through the fall, members such as myself go out and collect seed and clean it, and with the help of a lot of volunteers, and some of that seed goes not just for sale online, but it goes into the seed libraries. Getting these seeds basically for free into people's hands, and that way we can encourage native plants growing in people's yards that don't necessarily have a couple $100 or a few plants. We brought together a number of different people, from not just harvesting the seed, but the people that come out and meet, people that are like-minded and really into sorting the seeds, learning about the plants that they come from, and getting them from basically straight off the plant, almost, to a clean seed. And that way the seed lasts longer, and then we can use it sometimes for restoration, most of the time just for people's yards and gardens. We hope to continue to do this because some plants, that might be their only place where people will be able to see them, is in their own yards. Starting is as simple as getting a potted native plant. Hummingbirds will show up for succulents when they're flowering, or your local trails. A lot of people don't know how diverse and amazing our canyons are in San Diego, like Tecolote, where we are currently at. So it starts as simply as just finding that first step with native plants and wildlife. Citizen science is critically important. Everybody that has iNaturalist, wants to know what things are, can log that. These apps allow that sort of data to get to people to synthesize it and know what migration patterns are like. And from that data, we know what's going extinct. Just as simple as, hey, what's this? That does contribute to that. We don't need to destroy things to make things better. Sometimes we can live with them or find the alternatives that aren't necessarily, broadly destructive.